All right, guys, so with 2025 underway, I wanted to start the year off by giving you guys my top games I've got my eyes set on for the year. By no means are these games objectively good. They're just games that have piqued my interest. These are also games that I could definitely see myself covering on this channel. For the most part, of course, are MMOs. Also, before we begin, I want to mention that I'm going to be diving into a random MMO every Monday on Twitch for a brand new MMO Mondays content series where we can all dive into an MMO together as a fresh start. This Monday, we'll be diving into Ultima Online Outlands, so definitely come join us for that if you can. Anyways, the first game on the list is Blade & Soul Neo. Neo is a remastered re-release of the original Blade & Soul, but with some changes here and there. Essentially, it's supposed to be an improved version of the classic game that has always had the reputation of a game that could have been. Currently, the biggest W aside from the small graphics improvement is, of course, the infinite win walk, the removal of one-shot PvP, and a less pay-to-win experience from its original. The main concern, however, is, of course, the pay-to-win. The game is still systematically pay-to-win in the Korean and Chinese version of Neo, having the same Lucent-like system from Throne, which is basically the main tradable currency, allowing you to purchase goods off the auction house that can be directly purchased via the cash shop. Jade, the newly appointed CEO of NC America, was just recently interviewed by MMORPG.com and said that she was very much aware of the pay-to-win stigma NCSoft carries and that the team is looking to, well, make it better. I'm currently in the process of diving deep into the end game, that is, of Neo myself on the Korean version, so I'll be sure to follow up on this once I have a better understanding of it myself. I'll be streaming it on Twitch, so definitely drop by if you're interested. Aside from this, what has always separated Blade & Soul from other titles to the point where it is considered to be a game that could have been, quote unquote, is hands down the combat. One of the best combat systems to ever exist in an MMORPG, BNS offers you the closest thing to a Tekken-like combat system for an MMO. The number one game on my radar for 2025 is hands down Chrono Odyssey. We don't have much to go off of, but Chrono has really climbed up the tier list of upcoming MMOs for a lot of people, mainly because of the stunning graphics and gameplay footage they've teased. Here's what we do know in a nutshell, however. Chrono is considered to be a next-gen action MMORPG with a vast, seamless open world run off of Unreal Engine 5 that offers unrestricted exploration, including a wide array of biomes, including grasslands, snowlands, swamps, and more. One of the interesting elements to the combat is that the game will feature something called a chronotector. I hope I got that right, allowing players to briefly stop time and retrace steps. Personally, to me, sounding kind of like a tracer from Overwatch tech. Not really sure, but to add more excitement to this game, most of the feedback from the internal tests that were done came back relatively positive. And yes, the internal tests did include regular non-working people. More tests are scheduled ahead with the game slated to release in 2025, and personally, I plan on sharing as much as I can when I can. Shifting gears, this is a Korean MMO led by Kakao Games, developed by Pixel. One of the biggest concerns was the possible NFT systems that could be in place due to Pixel's previous game utilizing this. While the monetization scheme is not yet confirmed, we do know that Chrono will not be an NFT blockchain game, thank God, and is looking to be a buy-to-play title. World of Jade Dynasty. I'll be honest, I have no clue whether or not this game will be coming to global markets this year, but I do know two things. Number one, it was already released officially in China, and number two, they do plan on having a global release eventually. In case you're wondering what this game is, World of Jade Dynasty is based off of the original Jade Dynasty MMO world, only this time coming in a full Unreal Engine 5.5 open world. Unlike other titles on this list, I have actually been able to publicly play this game and upload content around it, so if you are curious, I'll drop a link in the description below. From what I could gather though, Jade is a sub-based theme park MMORPG with a hybrid tab target combat system. As you can see, there's a strong wuxia theme surrounding it, so this isn't going to be for a lot of people who prefer the more non-Asian theme. I mean, look at this game, it's Chinese as hell. Jade Dynasty monetizes heavily on its cosmetics, locking skins and mounts behind a massive paywall. It's pretty clear the intent is to really help you distinguish yourself amongst others via cosmetics, but these items can cost you crazy amounts of money. I've heard up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Aside from this, I personally haven't seen any pay to win from this game, but then again, my playtime on the Chinese servers have been fairly limited. I plan on diving back into Jade once we receive more info on a possible global release. You want a non-pay to win experience, a Western MMO? Well, at least you have Ashes of Creation. Ashes is certainly not a game that's expected to release in 2025, nor are the beta phases even expected to launch. However, it is possible to play Ashes right now via the alpha test, and it is a game that I plan on keeping up to date with, so I'm putting it on my 2025 list. At this point, I don't really think I need to explain what Ashes is or what's to be expected, so instead, I'll share my personal thoughts on the game. Ashes at a core is a game that I'm actually really excited about. It seems to be the closest thing to vanilla Arcade as a true sandbox MMO. Also, after playing the game, the combat is actually really fun and, in my opinion, one of the hard carries of the game. Negative stigma surrounding the game is how buggy it is, how unpolished it feels, and how unfinished the game is considering how long it's been under development. My take on this is a pretty simple one. From an objective perspective, it is for sure behind considering its 7 or so years of development, especially when compared to games like Black Desert that full released in this time frame. We're not placing any value on companies nor giving anyone slack, and it's strictly an objective comparison to other top companies and brands. I think it's perfectly fair to say Ashes is behind and at the very least a little bit slow. However, I also feel this is an unfair comparison because Ashes is not being developed by a Riot or by a Blizzard. It started out as a Kickstarter game with a tiny team that could probably fit in my tiny ass apartment, but also being led by a guy with zero experience in developing video games. It'd be like me saying, fuck it, I'm making my own MMORPG. There's just no chance you could realistically expect that project to match up to the timeline of a well-established multi-million-dollar seasoned MMO company. Best news I've heard is that things have recently begun ramping, with development speed picking up considerably. As funny as this may sound, but Steven now has 7 years of experience under his belt, and when you have numbers and experience, you can expect better progress. And because of this, I think we're going to be able to see a big step next year in the development process with Ashes. I really hope they are able to put out a good product for us. I'm personally excited to see what this game can become. We're adding a non-MMO to this list, and that game is Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm not gonna lie, I've always wanted to give Monster Hunter a go, but the fact that Monster Hunter Wilds is moving into a seamless open world has really put this on my radar. Maybe giving it more of an MMO-like feel. To be clear, it's not an MMO. In Monster Hunter, you'll be connected to a lobby that can have up to 100 players, but you won't be able to see every player in your instance, and the multiplayer also allows you to play with up to 4 people. Speaking of multiplayer, there's a new party link system featured in Wilds, allowing players to party up, opening voice or party chat while still being in their own respective worlds. This lets players progress through their own stories or just roam in their own world, and if there's something to do, everyone can group up together to do it. Now, there are a ton of new things coming in Wilds, but for me personally, I'm excited to dive into this as someone brand new to the franchise. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and I've always wanted to get into it with how great the gameplay looks. I feel like Wilds is going to be a great opportunity for me to start, so I plan on doing so. Wilds is the latest expansion set to release relatively soon on February 28th, with an open beta test on the 6th. There are a ton of games set to release this year, but these are the 5 that I'm personally looking forward to the most. I'd love to hear what games you guys have your eyes set on, so if you have a couple of seconds, let me know what those games are in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video.